welcome to TNT. One thing you can always say about Phuket, it's an ever-changing landscape when it comes to great cafes and interesting buildings. This is the Tree O'Clock Cafe in Cherngtalay, and not only great food but a very interesting piece of architecture. Welcome to TNT. And now back in the home studio, welcome to our Wednesday TNT. Thank you for dropping in. If you do get a moment as you're passing through, subscribe to the channel. That is really always a great help. I think you need to be on a desktop or a mobile phone or something so you can actually scroll down. I know for those people watching on TV that you can't subscribe from there, but if you do take a moment to go to a mobile phone or a laptop, that would be much appreciated. Let's get into today's stories. And Dom's family in Thailand joins the cremation ceremony online. I think yesterday we understood that the family were going to be in attendance in England, but in fact they were in Chiang Rai watching from home. The Thai embassy in England broadcast live online the cremation ceremony of Duangpech Dom Promtep from Leicester to his family in Chiang Rai. Dom was the former captain of the Wild Boar football team who survived a treacherous cave rescue in 2018. He died suddenly in England on February the 14th. He was 17 years old, and some lovely photos posted by Cowsod English. And the Thai ambassador and members of the Brooks House Colleges Football Academy also attended the ceremony. Thailand's Zico Foundation, which had funded Dom to be educated in England, posted the photos from the ceremony at the Great Glen Crematorium. The cremation was chaired by Zico, the former coach of the Thai national football team. And the mother also thanked everyone for helping, including Dom's friends who had been rescued from the Tham Luang cave. They, known as the 13 Wild Boars, have always loved and cared for each other dearly, she said. According to the Daily Mail, an investigation into the death of Dom is continuing as a provisional cause of death is identified. The coroner says a provisional cause of death has been identified but did not disclose any further details during the short hearing. A review hearing has been scheduled to take place on July the 6th, so it's unlikely that we'll hear any more information until then. But Dom, may you rest in peace. Cremated yesterday in England. Now to a story from Reuters. And Thailand hosts thousands of US troops for the annual Cobra Gold drills. And Thailand and the United States kicked off yesterday the military exercises involving more than 7,000 personnel and forces from 30 countries. Cobra Gold launched back in 1982, one of the world's longest running multilateral military exercises, and the biggest in Southeast Asia, serving as a key platform for Washington to shore up alliances in Asia at a time of increasing competition with China. After the drills were scaled back during the pandemic, nearly 6,000, seems to have dropped 1,000 troops in one paragraph, will take part this year. The Admiral says that they're going to conduct integrated ops across the land, sea, air and cyberspace. Looks like governments are having to attend to the attacks on cyberspace this year as part of their defences. The exercises, which will run until March the 10th, demonstrate how responding together would help to preserve a free and open Indo-Pacific so that all nations can maintain peace, stability and prosperity. Wonder who he was directing those comments towards. Oh, here we go. Tensions have increased in the region between the US and China over Beijing's growing assertiveness in the South China Sea over self-ruled Taiwan. This year, the drill will include a space exercise for the first time with a focus on understanding the impact of aerial phenomena such as solar storms on military operations, communication and satellites, according to a US embassy statement. Also, perhaps things like shooting down things that look like spy balloons. And a few shots here from Reuters covering the activities of Cobra Gold. Started yesterday and going until March the 10th, happening around Rayong and the Sattahip Naval Base there in Chon Buri. And they will continue until March the 10th. Big thanks to 5 Star Marine, our sponsors. And if you'd like to head off the island for a private day tour, there's, some 30 plus islands off Phuket. Maybe you'd like to go and see some of them on a private tour. There's a link in the description of this video. So in yesterday's program, we had a headline that 40% of the condos in Phuket were sold to Russians. Now, I admit that it was probably a little bit clickbaity, but then again, when you've got a thumbnail and only 90 or so characters, sometimes you have to abbreviate headlines. Now, of course, the 40% number needs to be clarified. I rang around some of my real estate friends who do property in Phuket, and they weren't really able to elaborate on the 40% number, except that the people who was at the Real Estate Information Centre who quoted this number probably needed to add that it was the condos available for foreign freehold and that were currently available. I mean, there's no way that 40% of all the condos in Phuket are owned by Russian citizens. Still, there's a lot of interest from the Russian community at the moment buying property around Thailand and specifically in Phuket. Now, further to that, a lot of, some abusive comments about Russian people buying property, condos and things in Thailand. I would suggest that you probably need to direct some of your venom towards the people selling them, because there can't be buyers if there aren't sellers. If the Thai government's willing to sell condos as freehold to foreigners, that includes Russians. They're not doing anything wrong. So maybe you should have a little bit of a talk to the sellers rather than abusing just the buyers. Just saying. Heading now to the Bangkok Post, and a Finn found dead, his throat cut. This from the BangkokPost.com. 58-year-old Finnish man was found dead on his bed with his throat cut and a knife on his chest at his home in Sattahip. Police were questioning his Thai wife, who said she found him dead after taking a young relative to school. The couple lived in a single-storey detached house in Bang Sarai. She said the man had, obviously that should be talked about, committing suicide several times because of domestic problems in Finland. The man's body was taken to the Police General Hospital in Bangkok for an autopsy. That story from the Bangkok Post in Chon Buri. Heading now to the nation Thailand, and this is a rather odd way of reporting COVID numbers. Back with a splash, Songkran to test Thailand's COVID defences. And it really then just goes about reporting on the COVID numbers. Thai hospitals and community health centres have been ordered to prepare for a spike in COVID-19 infections over Songkran in April and schools reopening in June. Hospitals have admitted 204 COVID-19 cases, 66 of whom were suffering severe symptoms, according to the Public Health Permanent Secretary. Sounds almost out of place to be reporting these numbers. Of course, we used to do it almost daily over 2 years. 9 patients died of COVID-19 in the past week, all of them belonging to at-risk groups. Opus said that the number of infections is expected to rise during Songkran Festival in April and again in June when schools open for the first semester. He's advising people to wear face masks in public and while interacting with those in at-risk groups. Off you go, Mike. People who have not been vaccinated for several months should get booster shots, he added. The ministry also advised people to wash their hands regularly and test themselves if they experience COVID-19 symptoms. Sounds almost out of place to be talking about COVID-19 in these terms these days. Now, I would say obviously there's a lot less to worry about with COVID-19 these days. However, there is something we should at least be paying attention to, and that's the H5N1 virus. The ministry has instructed health officers in border provinces to monitor the bird flu outbreak in Cambodia and tighten health screening of travellers at border checkpoints. Those who have visited outbreak zones or come into contact with bird flu patients in the past 14 days must undergo testing at hospitals. On Sunday, the WHO reported the outbreak of H5N1 is still at a low level. Despite the death of an 11-year-old girl in Cambodia last week, the girl and her father caught the virus after direct contact with infected animals. Now, sure as eggs, as sure as night follows day, there will be another pandemic at some stage. Probably sooner rather than later. We hope, of course, it wouldn't be something like H5N1. Why? Well, up to the start of last month, a total of 240 cases of human infection with avian influenza were reported from 4 countries within the Western Pacific region. Of these cases, 135 were fatal, resulting in a case fatality rate of 56%. Now, understand that there's been no human-to-human infection of H5N1 at this stage, but just one of those viruses that people do need to be aware of. Obviously, the authorities are doing their best to keep a track of any avian flu cases and deaths. We now head to this story in the BBC.com. Nicholas Cash. Police say domestic abuser may be in Thailand. He was last week found guilty at a Bournemouth Crown Court of charges including coercive control, assault occasioning actual bodily harm, and administering a poisonous or noxious substance with intent. The foresaid believed Cash, who lived in Bournemouth, could have travelled to Thailand, but this couldn't be confirmed. And one of the detectives working on the case said Cash had been the perpetrator of the most despicable psychological, emotional and physical abuse on his victim. So somebody that I think we probably need to avoid. Just a quick look at that gentleman's face, Nicholas Cash, who might be in Thailand. If we hear any more about that case, we'll certainly pass it on. Now heading to VN Express. This is a Vietnamese online publication. A story saying why Thailand has attracted more foreign tourists than Vietnam. Well, it's certainly a good question. Let's see if we can find out some of the reasons from the people quoted. A friendly visa policy and diverse entertainment services have made Thailand more attractive than Vietnam. This is according to Grant Wilson, a 61-year-old Australian. And he says though Vietnam has beautiful scenery, delicious food and friendly people, Thailand has been developing tourism better than Vietnam, especially the quality of tourism services. So he says, in Thailand, shopping centres and night markets are diverse and suitable for Westerners with a better quality of goods. In Thailand, there are various modes of public transport, but in Vietnam, travelling by public transport is still limited. He says that Vietnam has a poor nightlife scene, while Thailand has built up its tourism reputation with red light districts in places like Pattaya and Bangkok. He says Vietnam has more beautiful natural landscapes than Thailand, but conservation in Vietnam is undeveloped. And Leonie Becker, who's a German travel blogger, says that Thailand's been attracting more foreign tourists than Vietnam thanks to its diversified travel experiences. And despite tourism reopening earlier in Vietnam, the country's received only 3.5 million foreign visitors last year. That's almost a quarter of Thailand's figure of 11.5 million last year. And Thailand's popular resort paradises Phuket and Pattaya are full of entertainment shows and cultural performances to serve Western tourists every night. Obviously quite different travel experiences, and just some ideas there from Leonie and Grant. Have you travelled to Vietnam? What do you think about comparisons? I think comparisons between the countries are usually a bit stupid, but obviously some people enjoyed Vietnam more than Thailand and vice versa. So I'd be interested to hear about your thoughts about those ideas in the comments section. And to this story in The Independent, a Thai drug dealer gets plastic surgery to look like handsome Korean man to evade arrest. Sounds like a good idea. Thailand police have apprehended a suspected drug dealer who allegedly underwent extensive plastic surgery to disguise himself as a handsome Korean man to avoid capture. Local media have compared the case to the 1990s film Face Off, where John Travolta and Nicolas Cage play an FBI agent and a criminal respectively who swap faces. Well, this man didn't swap faces, he just got his own face extensively changed. Let's check out a little bit of the raid from the Thai police, and they barge into the man's property and they find him. Not sure exactly they're doing much identifying of his face here, but obviously apprehending him, and let's find out what happens with that story. The man admitted to purchasing MDMA on the dark web with cryptocurrency. He's been arrested at least 3 times before and escaped detention each time. So a pretty slippery customer, apart from obviously having his face changed as well. So how did he get his face changed? Let's have a bit of a look at this. And you can see some different pictures there without identifying who he is, all the way from, well, those numbers are in Buddhist years, and it goes from 2014 until now. And obviously a profound change to his appearance, and looks like he's got his skin cleared up as well. So a slippery customer indeed, but now in custody, and I think police will be making sure he doesn't get out this time. Let's see what happens with that. And just very finally, this is a sign that was captured by Kausod English, and it's a 5,000 baht fine now if you ride your motorbike on the footpaths of Bangkok. Certainly something I noticed when I was living in Bangkok, motorbikes when the traffic was bad, jumping up onto the footpath and riding along. But a 5,000 baht will now be imposed for motorbike riders if they do get onto a footpath, and a timely reminder, a sign there in Bangkok. Thanks very much for watching today. That's our TNT. Of course, we do this 5 days a week. If you get a moment on your way out to subscribe to the channel, we'd be most grateful. And a big thanks to our sponsor, 5 Star Marine, and also you. I really appreciate you dropping in each day, and we'll do it all again tomorrow.